The western side of Hampshire's New Forest runs from Wood Green and Fordingbridge in the north down to the outskirts of Christchurch in the south. All the way, the wild heathland is flanked and watered by the River Avon, as it loops its way through the pastures and meadowland, past Ringwood to the sea. This is magnificent walking and riding country, and the views across Hampshire and into Wiltshire and Dorset are as spacious and unspoiled as you could hope for in this overcrowded island. In addition, the fact that this special place has been in existence for over 900 years gives its inhabitants a sense of continuity and tradition, which people from cities may find hard to comprehend. Early on a September morning, Jonathan Gorelli, the Agister for the West New Forest, and his team are busy getting ready for one of their autumn pony drifts. At this time of the year, all the commoners' horses and their new foals are rounded up, looked over, sick or injured ones treated, young ones branded and tail-marked, and then released back onto the forest until next time.
First thing this morning, we've got to set up the pound. It's a number of heavy wooden sections, and it's got to be put up in areas where we're going to catch the ponies. We use this to hold the ponies in a confined space so that we can cut their tails and do all the things that's got to be done.
Such events have been taking place here for centuries and are as typical of the New Forest as its wild heathland and its ancient woodlands.
Beau Saab is a grey Arab. He's 14 now. He's a very strong horse, and he's very good for the job. He sometimes thinks he knows better than I do, and perhaps he does. He sometimes likes to sort of take you his way rather than your way, but it normally works out. We've got sort of a good thing going between us, so works out all right in the end.
I'm going somewhere. Come on down.
I see, all right.
Behind Forest Glade first.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Then in Nichols Corner.
Yeah.
Right. And then go down Troy Cross here.
Yeah, could do. I mean, when we go down through, we can see if there's much.
Yeah.
See what we can find in it. Right. Let's go. Yeah, we have about 40 roundups throughout the year. They start about the middle of August and go through to about the beginning of November. And we try and catch all the ponies in the forest. Obviously, it's you have problems and some get away, but you have drifts in all different parts of the forest. And it's mainly their once a year sort of health check, really. They have their tails cut. That's to show that they've been paid for to run on the forest. A lot of the ponies are wormed. Some of the foals are weaned or branded, and then they're released back onto the forest. Certainly, even before there were organised roundups, commoners always did get together and go out in groups and catch the ponies they wanted, and this is where the sort of roundup sort of started from, and it's built on from there. I love every minute of it, yeah. It's very exciting. You're riding through the forest very often at sort of high speed, and it can be hazardous, but that adds to the thrill of it. But it is a very important job as well. You're doing a job to collect up the animals, and like I say, it's their sort of once a year health check. It's the one chance for you to look them over closely. I suppose to the outside people it looks like a lot of chaos, but we sort of hope that we know what we're doing, so it sort of does go all right in the end. ponies are very wild. They live a natural life. Although they're all owned by people, they are left out on the forest to their own devices, and they are wild animals. We have a number of pounds built in the forest, but in some areas we don't have pounds built, and that's why we have the mobile pound. The pounds have to be strong. The animals, like I say, they are wild and very strong. You have to, you know, sometimes get hold of them when they've got to be branded or wormed. So it is, you get knocked about and you get kicked and trod on, but that's sort of one of the hazards of the job. I've always been in the forest, born and bred here, and I can't really see myself being settled anywhere else. I love the forest life, and family's all here, and the animals, and I just love it. It's really great.
New Forest keeper Derek Thompson has worked for the Forestry Commission for 31 years. He has a whole assortment of jobs and duties, many of them undefined and instinctive. One of his more unusual responsibilities is for the snake and lizard pits near Lyndhurst.
I love snakes because I've been very interested and passionately fond of them, I suppose, for the last 30 odd years. I can't really remember when I first came to the forest something like 31, 32 years ago that I had this great interest in reptiles. But certainly since being in the forest and producing or making the reptillery, then my passion for these animals has increased year by year. I know in the New Forest the old people often say how dangerous and aggressive adders are, and this isn't really the case. The adder is a very shy, retiring snake, much preferring to keep out of your way, not waiting in trees to spring on you, grab you by the throat, as a lot of these old people have you believe. This is a baby adder, which has only been born something like a week to 10 days. Shortly it'll be going into hibernation because they're born in the autumn or September time, and they go into the hibernating chambers to hibernate for the winter.
Another of Derek's regular jobs is to keep an eye on and to feed the deer at Boulderwood.
These are all fallow deer, the most common of our deer in the New Forest, and this time of year the rut is approaching. So the deer are quite nervous. You can see that, they're jumping about, and some deer are getting quite aggressive. If you look closely at the older fallow bucks, you'll see that their necks are quite swollen. This is all indication that the rut or the mating time is approaching. And towards the end of this month, these deer will leave the fields, go out into their favourite rutting areas, and set up rutting stands where the big male fallow deer will get the females and start to breed for the coming years. I'm a country man. I've always loved the open country, particularly the animals. I've this special affection for snakes, a special affection for the deer. I would not be tempted to move from the forest under any circumstances.
Two of the commoners, whose animals will soon be rounded up for their annual check-up, are Brian and Angie Wilson from Linford. Both can trace their families back for 500 years in the area, and as well as ponies, they keep cattle, pigs and pigeons. Small holdings like this have been here since medieval times, And people like the Wilsons have kept alive the old forest customs and fashions, which contribute so much to its character today.
Basically, it's your life. You're born, you're bred here, and it just means everything to you. It's a ridiculous thing to say, but you go away for half a day and you just yearn to come back. People say you're lucky, but quite honestly, you get on a horse and you don't even realise you're doing it. It's just like an everyday occurrence. Yes, it's nice summertime, but you try it in the cold and the wet and the frost and the rain. It's not such good fun then, quite honestly.